many presidents and Congresses. I've seen the economy take on the nature of a roller coaster. It goes down, it goes up, it goes left, it goes right. I will tell you, though, I have never seen so much impact as what we're in right now. And it's got nothing to do with politicians or economics or any of that, nor will our future. The reason that we're doing this session and the reason I chose these topics is because I know, believe me, I'm doing this every day, that every single rule that we operated by at the recruiter's practice and process has evolved and changed in the last year, 18 months at the most. And I've got to tell you that I've never seen such change, and I'll get right to the point. All of the things we've done with technology and all the incredible advances we've made with the internet and the cloud and all that, it's wonderful. Guess what? It's not helping us find talent. And so we're going to talk today about what works. We're going to talk today about what has to be done, and I'm going to share a very brief experience with you. I was recently asked by one of our clients to come out, sit down with them, sit down with the leaders of the company and the leaders of human resources, because they are just pulling their hair out trying to find the people they have to have. And at my suggestion, we held this meeting, and everybody kind of sat there and talked about what they were facing and what they were going to have to do if they didn't find the people they wanted. And then the question was asked of the people in HR, because it was a fair question. At the end of the day, talent acquisition is their responsibility. And the question was asked, well, why aren't we finding these people? And I kid you not, this executive of HR, wonderful lady, absolutely great experience, looked with an honest face at everybody and said, what do you want us to do? Pick up the phone and call our competitors? We just don't do that. And I don't see anything wrong with what she said. I admire her for her professionalism in her practices and her comment. But at the end of the day, that is what it takes. And that's what it takes today. It's going to take that for the next 6 to 10 years. And the math is not arguable. We're sitting in a circumstance where our candidate pool is half of what it was just a year and a half ago, 3 years ago, and it's going to stay in this mode for at least 10 or 15 years total. So we're looking at least a decade ahead where the people we want aren't hanging around the job boards, guys. So let's talk about what we need to do. I'm going to talk about 4 major topics. One is the secret of defining the position, the search, the project, everything we've got to have. The second point, looking at creating a compelling vision. This is what it takes. This is the center point, the keystone of this arch. Thirdly, how do we get referrals in a marketplace that we can't seem to get them in? And what are the alternatives to sourcing out these candidates other than the job boards and all the monsters that are out there? Search definition. What do I mean by that? In other words, what is it that we as recruiters and people who are responsible for finding talent, what is it that we need to know so that we can be effective at recruiting this incredibly unique and incredibly different generation of talent that we've got? The person who's going to help us the most in defining what this search is, the criteria that we have to find, and the criteria that we have to know beyond a job description. Quite frankly, it's the decision maker. It's the person who says, that's the candidate I will hire. That's the candidate I want to have come here and work with me. That's the person who has to define it. But the question then arises is, how much definition is enough? Well, I'll tell you what isn't enough. Enough is not the title of the job, the definition of the skills and the duties, and the amount of money you're willing to pay to find someone that can take on that job and perform in that job. That's what we've operated with before. They used to call it title, duties, and dollars. Well, that's not enough, because you've got a group of people here, and I'm not going to dote on this today. I'm just going to make it clear right now. Gen X, and I have kids that are Gen X, so I understand that. Gen X is my candidate pool, your candidate pool, everybody's candidate pool. The boomers are leaving. That leaves in their wake Gen X, again, half as many people. But because there's so few of them, many of them grew up with single children families. Mom and dad both worked. They were called latchkey kids. They came home after school, put themselves in the house, made their dinner, cleaned up, did their homework, did their chores, watched Mr. Rogers, whatever. And all of these people came in to a world and grew up in a world where they didn't have the peers that the baby boom had. And so they became self-reliant. They became much more scrutinizing about everything they saw. They questioned everything they saw. And so coming at them with, I am looking for, or here's what I want, or you can get sexy about it and say, I've been retained by a client to find, all of that's well and good. It worked with baby boomers. They were programmed over a 30-year period to accept that approach, but Gen X is not programmable in that regard. They're going to be the ones that say, seriously, to themselves, you'll never hear it. They're going to say, seriously, I don't care what you want. I'm busy. So when you talk to the hiring manager, we'll get into creating that vision here in a minute, but when you get in there with the hiring managers that you have to help find these people, you have to kind of educate them on what I just taught you so that they understand what we're all up against. Hiring managers are often resistant. People are naturally resistant to doing things differently than they have. That's the way it is. And a lot of key hiring decision makers and upper-level hiring decision makers in a lot of our employers are the younger baby boomers. And they're looking for that second generation of people to come along. They're going to resist when you ask them to do something different than they've been programmed to do. So help them out. Explain the facts. There are 38 million Gen Xers. There were twice as many boomers. The unemployment rate, look it up yourself. It's at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov. Go there and look at it. It's not my opinion. The unemployment rate for people who have a college education and 4 years or more of experience, sounds like our candidate group, doesn't it? That group of people has an unemployment rate below 3.5%. And if you ask any demographics expert, any statistician, they'll tell you the same thing. That is statistical zero. And I can attest to that in 35 years of doing this for a living. I guarantee you I've never seen less than 3 or 4 out of 100 people sitting around without a job. And there are always that many that aren't looking or quit looking or something. So that's not our candidate pool. The question then begs itself, where are they? They're at work. They're at work in a frenetic, busy, overworked, understaffed, under-resourced environment, and 80% of them feel they're not getting 2/3 of their work done. Well, guess what? You call that person out of the blue and say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. I don't know anybody. I'm not looking. Goodbye. I know because I deal with that every day. So when the hiring managers resist, say, hey, you got to help me out here. And here's what they got to help you out with. They got to help you create a vision of what that person you contact, whether they are a hiring decision maker who may have subordinates that left, or they're a person in a liaison capacity that could help you identify the people you're looking for, or they're a target. In other words, there's somebody that you know is in a company with that title. You want to go after them directly. They all think the same way. They all scrutinize the same way. I'm not stereotyping. It's just a cultural fact. Gen X is a lot pickier than boomers. So the vision, the ability to create this picture that gets us their attention is critical. And so you know what they want. So the question is, should you lead in with what you want? Nah. You don't want to do that. You want to craft this picture that catches their attention in that crazy environment they're in and help them understand how they can benefit from listening to you, how they can put some time into you. And I also might add, all our candidates are in, as I said, understaffed companies that can ill afford to lose anybody. So they're going to build the walls a little higher. They're going to put a little more barbed wire around them. They're going to put some broken glass on the floor. They're going to do everything they can to keep you out. And then when you do get in, they're going to have intimidated. I'm sorry, this is just, you came here for the truth and I'm giving it to you. It's not politically correct. I get that. But the facts are that the companies that are out there that we have to recruit out of, because that's where our candidates are going to do everything they can to keep their employees, including the subtle, if not obvious, intimidation that if we catch you looking, you're out of here. And nobody wants to lose their paycheck, folks. We just came off of a long period of recession for 5 years where folks were terrified. of getting caught up in their loss of paycheck. Their homes went upside down. I mean, come on, let's be realistic here. So the best hiring managers and the best candidates are going to react when you come at them with a really exciting idea, with something that they can look at and go, yeah, wow, I'd like to hear more about that. So let's talk about what that means. Well, look at the job. You've got a position, and it's got a title, and there are certain duties. That's what they get paid to do. They have to bring certain skills to the job. That's just one of 3 dimensions this thing really is. And we need to take this up to the next level without exception. So when you talk to the hiring decision makers and you build the vision you have to have, there are some questions I want you to ask. And one of them is, okay, I understand what this job is. I understand what you want the person to do, and I understand what they've got to be capable of doing before you see them. And I'll find you that. But the question I need to have answered before I even talk to them is, why would someone who you can bring in here who can do that job, why would that person I talk to tomorrow, today, why would that person see this job, this position, as an opportunity? What's in it for them? Find out what they have to say. And when they say to you, well, I don't know, as the person, you've got to work with them. You've got to say, look, I've got it. We got to put this thing together, so help me out here. Why would the person in our competitor, in that competitive environment, who's doing that for someone right now, and you want them to come over here and do that for you, what is it about this that's going to make them want to come here, learn more, talk to you, and understand this job? Why is it an opportunity? Don't just ask and then feel like, okay, I did my job and walk off. You've got a mandate here, and you have to live up to it. Second question. What is it about our organization? And as a recruiter, you should understand this on a global level anyhow, figuratively. Why would someone who can do all this, who's considered one of the best talented people out there, i.e. best qualified candidate, why would they want to work for our company? What is it about our organization here? What is it about our culture? What is it about the future? What is it about what we're planning that's going to entice someone to want to come here? Don't underestimate the importance of this. Thirdly, and finally, probably the hardest question you're ever going to ask hiring managers. And they will tend to wilt a little when you ask this, but you have to kind of help them out here and encourage them. I ask them every time, okay, I know what the person can do with this job. I know where it can go with it, where they can go with it. I really do understand why someone should come to work for our company or for your company. But why would the person who you want to meet, sit down with, discuss this position, and ultimately try to hire, why would they want to work for you? What do you bring to the table? What are they going to learn about you that's going to encourage them to come here? What will your subordinates say about you? What will your liaison contacts within the company that are within the scope of this position, what will they say about you? And you need to have these conversations thoroughly with these hiring decision makers. They're going to make a huge difference in your ability to find the people you've got to have, they've got to have. So there's some referrals that you have to get. You've got to get people to help you out here in a time when, as per the most recent survey I saw from Society of Human Resource Managers, they were stating that of 50-some thousand professionals that were polled, 83% were looking to move on in the near future to a better role, maybe even a better employer. So when you contact them, they're there for you, but their reaction is not going to be, oh, okay, I know what you're looking for. Yeah, I'll talk to you about that. They're not thinking that way. That's gone. That left with the boomers. And Gen X is not likely to repeat what they think are the mistakes of their predecessors. They saw them pay in spades for those mistakes. So the first and most important thing is, as I've stated, it's your approach. It's how you come at these people. It's, instead of saying, hey, I'm looking for a salesperson, I'd like a professional who's got, pretty substantial regional experience, someone who can develop key accounts, someone who can introduce new products, someone who can help move from, just distribution into new products and engineered product sales, and someone who can help introduce these products to a widening market. oh, come on, guys, you're snoozing me out here. They're going to be the same way. They're going to go, yeah, really? Okay, that's what I do. Or, I'm not excited. What are you talking about? That's how they react. So how do we go at them in a way where their reaction will be different? Let me take everything I just said to you and throw out an example of what it should end up looking like, what it should sound like. Hi, I'm an executive, or I'm a recruiter, and I'm looking for an individual who can help us with some huge initiatives. Picture yourself in a situation where it's only a year from now. And in that period of 12 months, you've taken 3 new product concepts that were engineered specifically by demand in the marketplace, newly created. You've taken them into the marketplace. You've also developed new accounts and developed some key accounts on the basis of this demand out there for truly engineered, custom-built products. As a result, you've expanded your territory by 20 to 40%. You've increased the sales in this organization by $25 to $100 million, whatever the numbers are, whatever the hiring manager says. And you're going to be working with someone who's seriously interested in developing a protege, someone who can come in and become the heir apparent to the role of national sales manager. Now that that year's gone by, you're in the spotlight because you've achieved all these things, and you're the next candidate for national sales responsibility. Does that sound like a position for which you might qualify? Now, which one of those approaches, here's what I want, or here's what you could have, which one do you think is really going to make a difference? Which approach is going to get you referrals? And I don't mean just referrals, but certainly reactions. Gen Xers, this is a psychology game. Recruiting always has been. And Gen Xers think in a way that's not terribly different than boomers. They're just more rigid about it. And one of the things is they pool together with people who are very competent. The very best of the Gen X candidate pool always looks to get together with people that are at their own level of ability and above it. They are seeking challenge. They're seeking mentors. They're seeking people who can provide them with a huge advantage in their career and from whom they can learn. So there's an unwritten rule out there. You need to know what the rule is, and that's that, hey, if you hear about a really great opportunity, I want to know about it, but don't send my name out to people that call you just because they're looking for someone that can do what we do. That's literally what's spread about in that generation and literally lived up to the letter. So when you come at someone with a list of what you're looking for, a prescription you want to fill, it's dry, stale, it doesn't excite anybody. But if you come at them with the magic of the future, something you can put your hope in, something that you can literally visualize as you being that person in that role in 12 months and doing those things, you may have no interest in changing employers. You may have no interest in changing jobs. But what happens is your wheels start turning and you think, oh yeah, that does sound pretty good. And although I've only been here 6 months, or I feel really content where I'm at, or I can't get out of here because my house is upside down, or I can't relocate because my spouse can't move, or I don't want to relocate because it'll mess up the kid's life. You know, these are all the things they're thinking about when you're talking. Instead, they think, well, no, I can't take advantage of it, but boy, I'll bet you that Charlie and Hillary and Karen will love these. They're absolutely right on. So they'll say, well, no, I'm not in a position to take advantage of that, but I know a few people that are. Okay, now, when they say that, their next concern is, are you going to be, awkward about this? Are you going to blow through doorways and start spreading my name around that I gave you names? They're really paranoid about giving out information. And if you get that kind of reaction, I just don't feel comfortable giving out a name, what are they really saying to you? What they're saying is, I don't trust you. And that's because of the way you approach them. So if you want to get a referral, when you ask if this is a position for which they would qualify, and that's the way you ask it. You'll say, is this something you're interested in? First of all, it's bad grammar, but second of all, it's not the right question. You don't say to someone, is this something you're interested in? Because now they've got to answer a whole bunch of questions. Not only can the person I'm thinking of do this job, but Would they really relocate right now? Would they really want to hear about this? Are they going to, why ask people all these questions when all you need to know is, in another way of saying it, who do you know that possesses the ability to do this job, and that's all I care about. When you say, is this a position for which you might qualify? And they say, well, yeah, I am your guy, or I'm your person, but I'm just not interested. Then you say, well, then who do you know that would qualify? And that's the way you say it. And if they say, well, I can think of it, I'm just not thinking. If they're just naturally paranoid, guess what? They've got reason to be. Then you should come back with the reassurance that you're going to maintain the highest level of confidentiality. I often say to candidates, I want you to understand that we just met on the phone, but I'm looking at maintaining a long-term, mutually beneficial relationship with you personally. I don't want to jeopardize that by ever compromising you because you said call this person. I'm going to come through the doorway with the same kind of thing you just heard from me. I'm not going to tell them, oh, yeah, and by the way, your name was given to me by, because we don't need to lean on that kind of credibility to be good at what we do. And if you are operating with that mindset, you're really hurting yourself. Just realize that your credibility comes from how you approach things, not whether you have somebody's name to throw around. So just reassure them, I'm going to maintain complete confidentiality. I've got a network of people like you. I talk to them frequently. At one time or another, we meet at maybe at that moment or certainly in the future. An opportunity intersects them at a time when they're really interested in seizing that opportunity. I don't know if that's right for you now, but I can guarantee you that something good's going to come along that you're going to want to hear about. I want to keep you in that network. I want to keep you in that loop. In the meantime, though, I do have a responsibility here to find someone who can take on this incredible opportunity. And if you can help me understand who the next person is I should intersect and talk with, who else I could speak with that might even know someone that might be interested or might be qualified, that's what I need. And I just tell them, I'm kind of like, take a vision here, a picture. I'm like stepping across this lake, and the people might think I think I can walk on water, but I don't. There's just a surface here that I step on, and I know that I can take the next step because I know what rock is right under the water, and I can put my foot on it and then move to the next and the next, because I got to get across this lake. And I need you right now to help me know where to put my foot next. Where should I make my next step? Who should I talk to? That kind of logical, confident, unsweating response is what fosters their confidence in you, your credibility. And guess what? It's going to give you a huge number of referrals. And so that's what you say. I remember being a very young person, although I was in the Stone Age. I remember being a very young person and playing football. And when I played football, I remember going to a banquet at the end of the year when all the championship team members and the all-city team was there. And I was sitting up on the dais, and our keynote speaker was the head football coach from Indiana, John Pont. And John looked at all of us and said, this room's full of winners, and it's not because you've all scored touchdowns. It's because every single person in this room has learned to rise after you fall. It's the second effort that wins football games and wins victories in life. And I never forgot that. It got me through everything I had to do as a young man to get to where I wanted to go. It got me through learning how to be, an officer in the military and in the world of piloting and aviation, and doing things I never dreamed of doing. And it wasn't because I didn't trip, stumble, and fall. It's because I didn't let it keep me down. You really do have to learn how to rebound here. Because it's going to make all the difference in the output of your efforts. It's going to make all the difference in you being the one who gets that person from that competitor, brings them in, brings them through the doorway, has their attention, has their cooperation, and they're a candidate. So if they say, well, I really don't know anyone that's looking, then ask other questions. The other questions you can ask are pretty much in your face here. One of them might be, well, if you had to get some advice from someone on how to achieve what I just put in front of you, who would you go to? Who do you think would be able to help you understand how to get these things done? Ask the kind of question that brings out the answer. The answer is, who do I talk to next? The other question might be, I'm sure you've had some changes in your career. In the past, if you've been associated with other organizations, who did you know there that might very well have these abilities and skills and qualifications, or may be aware of someone who does? Who are your companies? And don't say, I want to know who your competitors are, but you might want to say, what kind of organizations do you feel represent this kind of talent out in the industry right now? And I'm really interested in your opinion on that level. And they start giving you input because they know, well, this company's really lighting it up out there and they're doing really well. Obviously, they've got people who can probably do the job for which you're recruiting. Now, there have been a lot of cut and dried approaches to recruiting that we've all become comfortable with, and I know we've got some veterans here. We've also got some people with corporate backgrounds who went through a learning curve. I'm sorry, but everything we learned has to be thrown out now, and we have to embrace a whole new planet. We have a whole new recruiting world out there, and we have to look at what we used to do, but we also have to look at what's been done. When we're talking to a client employer or we're talking to our own employer as a recruiter, we have to know what's been done so far to fill this job. This is a key question because you don't want to keep running down the same pathways. And I want to make a really strong point here. If you're a third-party recruiter or consultant and you're representing talent to your employer clients, going out to the internet and using Boolean search strings or using the job boards or linking with everybody, you know what I mean, doing that, they've already done that. They already know how to do that. Consider this your wake-up call, guys. Third-party recruiters, hear me clearly. Your clients already learned how to do what you know is not working today. So to go to them and get these searches and then go back out and replicate what they already know failed them, come on, that's kind of illogical, isn't it, at minimum, if not dumber than a bag of hammers? So, what have they done so far? What roads have they walked down, and how did they do it, and what did they get out of it? Another step I want you to consider here is, this term multitasking has come out of the technology that we once learned to depend on for recruiting, and now we need to learn to look away from to be successful in recruiting and pick up the keypad, not the keyboard. But when you do look at what we know isn't going to directly produce a candidate, you go to the social network, professional networks, I'm not going to hammer anyone in particular, you know what they are. But if you go to one of them and you look for a candidate, you're going to find what we continually find, and that's the people that are out there on those sites. Most of their profiles aren't up to date. They're a year or 2 years out of date. They're not even in the same company anymore. Unless you're a direct connection, the odds are you're going to have to try to chase them down. It is an incredibly laborious and time-consuming process. And while you're out there playing with the wrong cards, guess what your better, more diligent competitor is doing? They're interviewing the candidate you wanted to find. So what do? Learn to multitask. Learn to look at these things as windows, not direct connections. What we do is we participate in all of the different groups that are on those sites. And a lot of those groups have been obviously developed by industry and by disciplines within specific industries, or as a discipline as a whole, like perhaps accounting or sales or other more generally skilled people. And then within the realm of a specific industry, there are forums where more acutely definitively skilled people in engineering and other areas where they exist. You go into those and participate in those groups. Lurk if you have to. And I don't mean to be creepy, but you sit back, kind of look at things, and participate in these groups, talk to people, pose questions. When we're doing a search, we'll go into the groups. I know in particular one big site, you can have, I think, a maximum of 50 major groups, and you can be a member of no more than 50. But in those groups, there are bazillions of subgroups, and we're in almost 300, including all the subgroups. So We get a search. We go right into the subgroups that are most likely going to have people participating in those groups, which is something Gen X does do, by the way. You go into those groups, and we start to pose questions. We start to ask questions. We also look for the answers in the discussions that are being held. I guess a strong point I want to make here is that we have to do this recruiting thing. It's not an event. It's not a step. It's not a process. It's an unending effort. You have to continually and unendingly look for people and develop contacts. So, as I alluded to earlier, when you're on the phone with someone and they say, I'm not looking for anything right now, I'm happy where I'm at, you don't drop that like it's of no value. In direct contact with someone like that, let me tell you what they're saying. When they say I'm not looking, what they're saying is, well, I am qualified. I am in that particular discipline. I am doing that for a living. But I'm really not looking to change employers right now, and I really don't want to move or can't. You don't argue with them about that. Instead, you might want to use the knowledge you just gained and say, oh, well, I'd like to maintain an ongoing relationship with you. I think there could be great mutual benefit in us keeping in contact. And I'd like to follow up with you in the future. Maybe we can learn a little more about each other, and I would know enough, I would learn enough maybe that I could reach out to you with something when you're in a better position, when you're in a more opportunistic stage in your career, and we can hook up. When can we talk again? Well, set a date, follow up with them, don't drop that ball, get to know them, and start developing a credible relationship. We have literally got hundreds and hundreds of people that are in that, I'm not looking right now, but I like talking to you, Doug, and I like to maintain contact with you, Doug, and yeah, I'll help you out in the meantime, Doug. That's the real currency. That's the real sweet spot of recruiting today. And that's developing these alternatives to, hi, I'm looking for, okay, you're the one, all right, I did my job. That's really not the value. And so that goes on to the next step, which is, database. I'm sorry, I love computers. I've got, the smartphone. I've got all the technology money can buy. But as much as we have a huge database of people, I don't look at it as a place I can go drop a coin into and then, it ejects a qualified candidate. That's always been a myth. But there have been a lot of people that have taught you that that is the truth, and it's never been the truth. But it's even less true now than it's ever been. The real value is in having this group of people who are in contact with you, who you have maintained an ongoing dialogue with, who see benefit for themselves in staying in contact with you. Now, you can't change the realities. You can't change the fact that the housing market's tanked. You can't change the fact that although it's getting a little better, it's not getting a little better everywhere. I talk to people every day that are 50% upside down in their house. And how are they going to walk away from that? Maybe not. But we as recruiters need to look at how, not what's out there that we have to deal with, but how can we overcome what we deal with. One of the things that we learned, and this is just a little thing I want to throw out there, is that when I talk to people that are in our database, I don't try to twist their arm into leaving where they're at. If I come at them with that vision of opportunity and I craft it the way I told you guys to do it, I promise you, put this in the bank, it'll draw great interest for you. There will be reaction, and that reaction won't always be, oh, yeah, I want to go. I'm the guy. Just take me. I'm the person that can do this. I want to go on that interview. No, you're not going to often get that. What you're going to get more often is, nah, it's not me. But I do know people, and yes, I do trust you, and you've proved to me that you're a professional. So I'm going to help you out here, and the quid pro quo, the way you can help me in the future is let me know when something comes along, because I'm going to let you know when I'm ready to make a move. Those kind of people, when you really have that kind of relationship with someone, they are unbelievably helpful to us in identifying candidates that, as you should know by now, being in this session for the last 42 minutes, The candidates we want are at work. They are not hanging around street corners with resumes under their trench coat or pasting their resume all over job profiles. They're not hanging around Monsters and other sites. They're trying really hard to do the best job they can where they're at in what's less than ideal circumstances for them personally, but on a professional level. They've got a career, they've got a paycheck, they've got an opportunity they can hold on to at the moment, and they're a little bit intimidated about just leaping out into the unknown. So the more you can maintain the contact, the more you can work on that mindset, the more you can help them help you, and in the process bring them around to saying, yeah, I'd like to try this out. One of the things I see, the biggest stumbling block, again, is often housing. Or if it's not housing, it's just economic. And they can't afford to see their spouse walk away from their current paycheck or their income stream. I talk to people that are making 6 figures and higher as a couple, who, even some as an individual, who literally are living paycheck to paycheck. Think about what we've gone through. Think about what our economy has had happen to it. Think about what's happened to retirement plans, to this foundation of security that people have always trusted in. And look at the credit debt in this country. It's astronomical. It's almost as bad as our national debt. So when you're talking to people out there today, they could be incredibly skilled. They could be just the one you want, but they're under a mountain of circumstances that keeps them from literally, physically moving. So you can't change that, but you can endear yourself to them. You can build a trust bond with those people, and they will be there to help you identify the people you've got to have. A couple final thoughts. The real currency or the real value of your candidate network is its willingness as an individual and a collective to help you when you need it. How do you keep that value? How do you keep that currency alive? By continually providing something of value to the people in that network that they can have personal benefit from. As recruiters, you know all the pitfalls in a career, counter offers, how to take an interview, how to deal with a performance review, all the things that help us in our career, we know more about than anybody else. It's what we do. All right, well, start writing some stuff, guys. Publish or perish. Remember that old worn-out title, that worn-out phrase? It's still real. So the more you can provide these kind of things to your candidates and honest help, the more they're going to be there to help you. Keep in mind that, you've got to look at this thing from the standpoint of the definition of the job, the vision you have to create. Excuse me. In order to do that, or by doing that, you're going to achieve the end result we seek, which are referrals, people we can go after who ultimately will lead us to the candidate we recruit. And in the end, you got to look at all these alternatives to just going at someone because their resume looked good or going at someone because their profile looked good. That's literally like walking around the desert looking for a vein of gold. There are a lot of people that died of dehydration in the desert during the gold rush doing that. The ones that got rich, the ones that found the gold mines, were the ones that did some digging, and that's what you've got to do. So I hope this has helped you guys today. I know that we're all frustrated today. You wouldn't have come here today because it's easy for you. So I want to help you guys out here. I want to give you everything I can because the best candidates are going to be coming to you from defining the vision, delivering the vision, gaining referrals, and looking at all the different ways you can find talent. All right. I'd like to open this up. I'd like to tell everybody that I'm open to answering questions. Anything that's come up, don't hesitate to type it into that little old chat box in that participant panel on the right side of your screen. And if you may have collapsed it using that skinny little panel to its left, you'll see that little red or orange kind of box there at the top of that skinny little panel. Click on it once and then it'll re-expand it, and then click on the chat box and it'll give you the opportunity to type in something. If you have any questions, I'd love to unmute you. We have so many people here that just the background noise alone would be deafening if I unmute everybody. So I'm here to answer your questions. And obviously, Brian, you have the floor.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Doug. I got some good info out of that myself. I recruiting background. I recruit recruiters, so that's going to help me a little bit. I do have some questions that people sent in, so I'll read them off to you here, and then we can address them kind of one by one. And if you guys have others, feel free to put them in as we're talking here.
Happy to do it.
So I got one. The first is, isn't the real issue that the client claims that they can't find talent as a direct result of their search being too narrow? Many of our clients are unwilling to consider candidates with 15 to 20 years experience. Many lose sight that people who have this amount of experience aren't old, early 40s. Clients who claim they can't find talent are being too narrow in the type of candidates they are willing to consider.
That could very well be true, Brian. I certainly have clients that start at least on that mindset. But I'll tell you what, the real secret here is getting that hiring manager to understand the cost of being stubborn. When a position's open today, when it's approved for hire, those things don't happen on a sort of a loose level. They are really scrutinized. And what I mean by that is no job exists out there. Nothing's open for us to recruit on unless it's already been determined that somebody, if not the whole company, is losing money because this job's still open. And as long as that exists, and it's almost universal today, you can sit down with a hiring manager and say, seriously, well, let me tell you something. If you don't want to consider this candidate because you think they've got too much experience, I don't know what you want them to forget, but if I go out there and I try to find you someone, you got to understand that we're losing whatever the number is, $12,000 a day, $100,000 a week, whatever it happens to be. You and I both know this is what you're losing. I want to put an end to the bleeding. I want to get someone in here that can bind your wounds. We need to consider people on a more objective level. And if you're a third-party recruiter and your client just insists on being stubborn at their own expense, let them lose money. Because as brutal as this sounds, we're in an era right now where there are going to be those companies that survive and thrive because they took the advantage, they jumped on the opportunity to get the talent they had to have while it was available, and they moved. And then they're going to be the ones that were stubborn or bullheaded or stuck in their old ways, and they're going to be the ones that are really seriously in a bad position in another year or two. Because the average turnover in careers today, again, according to very credible surveys I've seen, is about 15 months. So from now, anybody you hire might be with you for a year and a half, 2 years. That means that if you hired somebody a year and a half, 2 years ago, they might be recruited tomorrow. So hiring managers have to take a wake-up call. Brian?
Great. Let's move on to the next one. The labor pool has dropped in half, but LinkedIn is my database with 100 million or more profiles. Why waste my time recruiting outside of LinkedIn?
You don't have to do it, but if you are that deeply embedded with LinkedIn, then you have to know. You'd be honest with yourself. You have to know that most of the folks you find on LinkedIn either are not that terribly attractive in terms of their career, or more commonly, the profile you find doesn't even represent what's going on today. It might be what was going on 2 years ago or a year ago. And we all know how dramatic the landscape changes today. So, why do you want to bother with it? I'll tell you why. Because the people that are out there that your employers want are the ones that are getting things done, achieving great things. They want them to come in and do that for your organization. And frankly, if you're just using LinkedIn, you're using a pool of people who don't represent those that I just described. It's human nature, guys. Use it. Think about it. Be honest with yourselves. If you're a professional who's working extended hours with minimum resources, with high demands upon you, you really go home every night or even once a week or even once a month and go on the internet, take that time away from your family or your friends or yourself and go look at LinkedIn every hour or some other site that you're on and spiff up your profile? Not likely. These folks today have kind of gotten a little disenchanted with that. So I have to tell you that I appreciate what you're saying, If you can find success with a singular source like LinkedIn, I encourage you to do so. But my experience over the years has shown me that the most qualified and talented people, those folks my client hiring managers wanted me to produce, are not hanging around those sites. And if they are on those sites, they're not doing much to keep their profiles current. And therefore, chasing them down is often a waste of time. I'd rather just pick up the phone, call into the organization I need to call into, get the person I want to talk to on the phone, get past the barriers, get past the gatekeepers, get them on the phone, and engage, right?
Yeah, well, and to further that point, it's like you said, defining that search in the beginning and knowing what paths have already been trodden. And if you talk to a client and they've never heard of this LinkedIn thing, then maybe that's a good place to start. But if they've been searching LinkedIn for the past 7 months with their premium account, that's probably not the best place to begin your search.
No, the very best place, frankly, Brian, is to have a database. And this is not a paid plug, guys, but that's one of the reasons I'm here today. Is Exelare is a product that represents enormous exploitation of technology, but it gives you that ability to create this customized tool. Most of them don't do that, and that's why I'm here. And I got to tell you, this has been a real eye-opener for me as to what technology can do today without compromising me, right?
Great. So next question. Given the move to home offices and cell phones, what ways other than social networks have you found to find those hidden candidates?
Oh, I go out there and I start digging around. There are a lot of sites that are there. I'm not here to plug anybody in particular, but I will throw one out there that I find very useful. We all may be aware of a product called Zoom Info. It's literally a compendium of professional profiles across the myriad of industries and disciplines. If you have somebody's name, you can go into Zoom Info, plug it in, and you'll get everything you need on them. The other way to do it, talk to the people that are the end users or the customers or the vendors that would be dealing with the folks that are in that role you want to talk to, because they know how to reach them. And if they're working out of their home and they're on a cell phone, or they're just on a cell phone, period, because a lot of people have become virtualized, if that's actually a word, that's another way we get them, is we go to the people who know who they are, and we talk to them. When I have a client and they say, well, we want you to go find a sales rep that can sell widgets, then I start finding people that use widgets and buy widgets, and I talk to them about the people they know that have the talent that sells to them. So you don't have to lean on that. See, this is where the pitfall of technology is pulled us in, is we think if it's not on the internet somewhere, it's out of our reach. It's not. You dial that keypad, not the keyboard, right?
Great. I like it. Then the next question is, you took the approach of an external recruiter. What is different for us that are here in the corporate recruiter role?
I don't think there's much. I will say this, and again, I came here to be honest, not to be politically correct. But you ask an honest question, I'll give you an honest answer. If you're a corporate recruiter or you're an internal recruiter, I think that the old attitude that you are bound by some written or unwritten law that says you can't pick up the phone and call people yourself, then one of two things is going to be true. You're either going to change that rule within your own organization that affects your practices and do things more like other recruiters do, or you're going to come to us as third-party recruiters and let us do what we do best. Internal recruiters, you don't have to be bound by a set of rules that were impractical to begin with, but now when your candidate pool is literally half of what it used to be, and your odds have dropped by 50% that you're going to find somebody through old practices that were more corporate-oriented, corporate-centered than third-party-centered, sorry, guys, but it's not going to work. So you need to change. Or, like I said, come to us. We'll help you. That's what we do.
All right. So how can we narrow our search on a reopened position in order to find talent satisfying the need in the minimum time involved?
A great question. It kind of goes back to what was asked earlier. And for those of you that, I've seen some people come in really late here, what the question that was posed earlier was basically, what if our client's too narrow? What if they're too, rigid in what they're looking for, and they don't want to talk to the candidate that brings extra things to the table, or they want to stick to their own internal definition of a job? This is a great question, Brian, because the one thing I want to point out here is that the people who are out there today are working in jobs that are truly and almost historically on a unique level organically defined. I can recall not very long ago where if you said to somebody, I want a project engineer, this almost universal template came to mind about what that person would do from the concept of the product to the end user, and all the interactions would go all the way down the line. And you would look at that job title, or sales rep, or accountant, or cost accountant, or financial, whatever, and you'd look at those and you go, oh, okay, I know what they want. Oh, that's dangerous today. And so to the question that's being asked, if the role that was once open and maybe it failed to produce a candidate through internal or external or both efforts to fill it, and you're re-examining this position, or it's been reopened after it was closed for economic reasons, whatever the reason was, now you need to sit down and say, okay, what does the person have to do? What is the end result they have to create? Not let's go out and find somebody that looks just like Charlie or just like Sharon that just left here. Guess what, guys? We all reduced the size of the companies. We all cut back on staff. We all cut out more experienced candidates. We did all the things everybody did, and that brought our staff down to a more affordable size. By doing that, we started shoving added responsibilities on the folks that weren't affected by the reductions. So the ones that stuck around, oh yeah, they took the added responsibility because they wanted to keep getting their paychecks. But what that did was it created these very unique, very localized, organically defined job responsibility definitions that now when we go back out into that global world of talent, there really may not be anybody out there can do the job the way it was defined by us, in the way we made our unique decisions to deal with the economy and deal with the recession. And now things are getting better, and we want to go find somebody or add to the staff. Don't look at what you've got or what you had. Look at what needs to be done. Look at what needs to be achieved, and let's find people that can do that, not necessarily the sales rep that also has the greatest local league bowling score or also knows how to do this or that or the other thing they were handed organically in the past. Brian?
I love it, and I'm just going to add to that. I know I'm not the trainer here, but I am a recruiter by trade, and I also happen to be in the Gen X nation, if you will. That's my age group, and those narrowly defined positions sometimes can be limiting, especially as a hiring organization. So helping a hiring manager to see that, hey, it might not just be a project manager. People in Gen X want to contribute, and they don't just want to be put into this small little hole. So yeah, being able to help them to look beyond just those few bullet points and communicate that vision that, hey, this isn't just this. You're going to have lots of other opportunities to contribute is a big thing that you can help to get across that hiring manager's mind, I guess.
Excellent point, Brian. Excellent point.
Well, that is all the questions that have come in via chat. If anybody has any last-minute ones to put in, please do so now. And otherwise, we'll hop into a quick. If you guys want to stick around here, I'm going to give a quick overview of our newest recruiting and sourcing platform, Exelare, for people that want to get a quick sneak peek at that. And if you guys need to go, I'll be sending out this recording via email to everybody here once the session is done as well. Anything else to add there, Doug?
No, I just want to say finally, thanks again to everybody that's here. I truly admire our shared professionalism in our industry. I know you're here today because you want to do a better job. I hope this helps you. I really know that it works, and I hope to hear you, see you, and run into you again in the future. Thanks so much for your participation today, and get out there and find them, guys. They're there. You just got to beat your competitor to the punch. All right, Brian.
Thanks, Doug. And again, any let's see here. Do you need to change me as the presenter over there?
Oh, probably. I'm sorry. I probably do.
No problem.
All right. You the man.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And I'd love to know your feedback on this as well. If y'all like this, these sessions, we're considering doing more in the future as well. So please let me know your feedback at the end of the session. So everybody's seeing my screen, hopefully. Just want to give you a quick introduction to Exelare. This is our, I'm sure we have some CBIZSoft clients with us right now, and then also some people that have never seen this before. Our company has been building recruiting software since 1999. It's all we do. And so our newest platform, Exelare, that's in beta right now, but available pretty much to anybody that's interested in getting in before we launch, is what you're looking at now. This is Exelare. And so it's a web-based platform that can be accessed via any PC or Mac, and you run it through your browser. And I'll give you a quick overview. It's fully compatible with Outlook and also Gmail. So depending on what type of business systems you guys are standardized on, it's going to work with that. But we break down the software into logical areas, starting with your dashboards and reports. So this is built for teams and being able to track what's going on with your teams, measure KPIs, things like that. All of these reports and dashboards are completely customizable. So the benefit to our Exelare platform is that we give you guys the framework and the tools from a recruiting perspective, candidate, job management, email marketing, Outlook integration, all that kind of stuff. But it's also very definable and adaptable to your own, recruiting processes and needs. So I'm not going to give a full demo here, but just give you an overview. We have the dashboards area you're looking at here right now. Again, totally customizable and filterable. You can drill down into separate reports from here. We break things down by your client companies. So we keep master lists of everything. Your client companies, your client contacts, your candidate pool, your job pool. So think of these as master lists that are quickly searchable and identifiable. You'll notice throughout the software we have rows and columns that represent the current area that you're in. So right now I'm in the company section. If I double-click on a company record, it's going to open up that record for all the information that we're tracking on certain client companies, right? So what you're looking at here, think of this as a template. We're going to give you a template of what we think is going to be most important to you to track on companies. But every client that we have has the ability to come in and completely customize the look and feel of these templates. So you might see fields that you would want to add or remove. It's very easy to do that. You control all of the lookups for instance, categories or tags or groups. You can completely customize how these are all worked and how your users interact with those. So you'll notice any of these fields inside of the company records here correspond to what we call a search column or live search in the background of the companies itself. And what we mean by live search is that as you type, I'll just type in a few keys here, I can quickly narrow down large data sets and then act upon those data sets. So Exelare is built for speed and it's built for quickly achieving things that you can't do with other systems. And what I mean by that is if I'm working on a list of prospects to target, for instance, instead of having to go in and say, okay, let's go ahead and schedule a call for each of these individually, I can narrow down a quick set of companies and then quickly schedule a call for all of those companies in one fell swoop, right? Same thing with email marketing. I can identify a list of candidates and send out a quick email blast literally in just a few seconds. And I can show you how to do that a little bit later. But just to give you a quick overview here of the search capabilities, we have a couple different search. One is live search, which I just showed you here. Again, show me all of my companies that are in the engineering services group or the payroll services group, right? And it changes quickly as you type there. We also have universal search that will allow you to get to any record in the system quickly. So for instance, if I type in, let's say, CBIZSoft, you'll see as I type that in, it's going to give me a list of all of the companies that match that criteria, all the contacts that work at CBIZSoft, all of the candidates currently employed at CBIZSoft, and then any open job requisitions that we have at CBIZSoft as well that allow me to quickly hop to that record. So if I want to hop to that job manager real quick, inside the software, it's going to open up in a new tab. So any searches that I'm doing in the background will remain active. And it'll open that in a new tab for me so I can quickly see. Again, double-clicking on the job record will show the details of that job that we're tracking. And again, you might add or remove fields depending on your needs as a recruiter, but you get the idea. You know, what's the rate or salary? Where's the location? What's my commission? I'm sure we all would love to be pulling those in regularly. And again, the skills of the position, you know, that you're recruiting for and the job title itself. You know, once you post these jobs inside of your system, we'll post that to your hosted website that we host for you where you can accept candidate applications. We'll also redistribute those to popular job boards, you know, Indeed, Simply Hired, Glassdoor, and also a few other, you know, major ones like Career Builder and Monster integration is going to be available in the next week here. So other search capabilities inside of the candidate section. I'm going to click on Advanced Find. Again, you can use live search to quickly narrow down on a skill set or location. You know, show me all of my candidates in Colorado that are, you know, have some type of computer skills or things like that. So you can see you can quickly build a list like that, schedule a call list from this in just a few clicks, or send out a mass email. But if you want to do something more like searching the resumes, you can hit Advanced Find, and this is going to open up our Advanced Find window. And we support both regular and Boolean searches. So if you guys are Boolean experts, feel free to go nuts with your Boolean strings. You can even save those if they're long, complex strings. Enter a zip code radius, enter some keywords, all, any, none, exact phrases, and hit Find. And that's going to pull back a list of available candidates or candidates that meet that criteria. And if I pop open the resume preview pane, you'll see that it highlights those terms over here on the right-hand side inside the resumes as we go through those candidate records. Right? So the idea is that you can quickly go through and identify different candidates. But then if you want to narrow down, you'll see down here I've identified 21 candidates that have those keywords. But maybe I only want to see candidates located in Colorado, California, and Idaho. So just like you're probably used to on larger search boards, we call this faceted search. We can drill down into those results very quickly to really get to the candidates that you're looking for. And of course, you can also use live search here as well. So, you know, what we're trying to give is an extremely fast way of searching and identifying candidates. And then the idea is that once you've gone through a few candidates and identified those, you can highlight all 3 of them at once and then link those candidates to a job or a particular contact or what have you, right? So that's, you know, basic searching. I don't want to get too crazy involved here in this brief demo. But one other thing that I do want to show you all is our Outlook integration. And I probably should have had Outlook already open, but it's pretty quick here. One thing that's very important to recruiters and that's clear, something that we've been doing since 2002, is providing a very robust Outlook integration. And what that means is that once you install our software, you're going to have a plugin that lives inside of Outlook. It looks like this. It's called the X-Bar. And this is a cloud-connected plugin, which is extremely unique. I'm not aware of any other ATS provider in the market that has a cloud-connected plugin, meaning that you don't have to have any software open for this to interact directly with your database that we host for you. So sending new emails, replying to emails, parsing candidates into the system with one click, parsing contacts or opportunities into the system with one click is all very easy. So, you know, I'm not going to get too much into this, but just know that the integration with Outlook is extremely robust, and any information that you do inside of Outlook is going to automatically track back to the appropriate candidate or contact record you have in the system. That's especially helpful for teams because you want to know when your colleague might have spoken to this candidate last, you know, what positions he might have been submitted to, all that kind of stuff, right? So, again, you know, building call lists and things like that are very easy. When you have a call list scheduled, it's going to pop up here and allow you to quickly hop to different records. This is an interview that's scheduled inside my system right now. It's telling me the subject, what type of an interview it is, who it's related to, this particular job, this contact, this candidate. And again, if I want to hop to those records, I can just click on the hyperlink. It's going to pop open that job or that contact record or that candidate record in the background for me. So one other thing that I'll leave you with here before I open it up to any questions is, you know, this is built for multitasking. And one thing that's extremely unique that hopefully you guys are already noticing is that this is not just a web-based application. It's a rich internet application. And what I mean by that is most web-based applications are one page at a time. I'm clicking here, I'm clicking there. In our system, I can open up a job record and minimize it. I could open up a candidate record and minimize it. Maybe I'm working with a candidate and a hiring manager calls in. I'm starting to send an email to that hiring manager, and then another candidate calls in. I can hop back to that candidate, finish what I'm doing, type some notes, on that candidate record, save it, and once I'm done doing that initial interview, I can pull that email back up and keep working. So as recruiters, we're on the phone a lot. We're talking to a lot of people, and we might be in the middle of presenting an offer, and a client calls in. You got to take that call. You don't want to have to forget what you were doing. So this is not only web-based, it's multitasking optimized, and that's something that we worked really hard to make sure we could provide to you, because when talking to our clients over the past decade, the speed and agility of the desktop apps we've created is something they did not want to lose in the web-based stuff. And so we decided to move into a rich internet application environment, which is taken some time to do perfectly to get right, but it's well worth the effort in the end. So if you want a full-blown demo, contact me. Send us an email, marketing@cbizsoft.com, or reply to the email you got for the webinar. I just wanted to give you guys a brief intro here so you understood kind of what we're up to. We're going to be launching this out of beta in the next few months. But we have some amazing deals for people that want to get in on the software before we launch to beta. So right now, if you've noticed, our competitors in the space might have similar features. We do a pretty good job of staying on top of, the feature sets that are available. I would challenge anybody for any ATS out there to beat us on what we can do. But at the same time, we have some excellent prices right now. $19 a month per user if you get in before we launch. That's guaranteed for 6 months. We're not doing it because it's worth $19. Obviously, it's worth probably much more than that. Our competitors are going to be charging much more than that. But we're doing it to give something to the new users out there. We know that people are looking for a robust system. And this is a great opportunity to get in before you have to start paying extra for it. So again, $19 per month per user. That's guaranteed for 6 months. And afterwards, the pricing will probably go up somewhere in the $79 per user month, still about half of what our closest competitors are going to be charging. So let me kind of stop there. Again, if you want more of a robust demo, send me an email or just go to our website and sign up for a demo. You'll see the links. And let me know if there's any questions in the chat window right now. Otherwise, I'll kind of end things that way. Let me go ahead and come to the audio here. Not quite sure how to. I thought there was a way to unmute everybody, but I'm not sure that there is. I don't think so. Any questions? Put it in the chat. Otherwise, I think I'm going to let you all go here. Let's see. Any idea when you'll be able to bold Q notes? Feel free to send me an email on that, Brian. Yeah, I can give you a little bit more information on that, but not too long. We've been talking about adding the what you see is what you get type features to different areas of the software. So, all right, thanks everybody for your time today. I'm going to go ahead and close things off. And you'll get an email with the link to this. So if you want to come back and view it, please do so. Hope you enjoyed this. And again, let us know your feedback if this was helpful to you. We're thinking about doing more of these sponsored training sessions in the future. Talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.